So Congress likes to do these show hearings where they bring in people, part of the government, whatever, and they ask them questions. Typically, so these committees can like recommend charges or something like that, but like they're toothless typically, and they can't really do much. So usually these hearings are just they're a few hours long or whatever, and there'll be a sound bite or two that comes out of it, but it's just a yawn fest. It's not great, and we're not really gonna get anything out of it. I found one recently that kind of it's a little bit different. It's a hearing with Georgia DA Fanni Willis, and I was listening for like 30 seconds, and just her attitude and her lawyer's attitude is just priceless. Some of the questions she's being asked are just insane, and she is just not having it. So the little clips that I've seen already of this hearing is just it is just fire. Fannie Willis is just coming at these guys with everything she's got, and she just does not give an F, man. She really doesn't. Little side story is Fannie Willis was in charge of the Georgia election fraud case against Donald Trump, and that ended up getting tossed. Mainly because Donald Trump became president, but also just the shenanigans of the Georgia government and the federal government just made this a very difficult case. Also, since it's the president, you can't really. It's very hard to charge a president with anything. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get straight into this hearing because I want to share this with you guys. Because it's just so good. I already skipped ahead. It starts off with them just asking her just like basic questions about her office and stuff, and it was just a waste of like 30 minutes, but they get firing real quick here, and it's let's check this out.
Presidential election in Georgia.
Don't answer that. That's a deliberative privilege. Don't answer that. I instruct you not to answer.
Is it true that part of your transition team was involved in the process of interviewing people before you entered office to lead the investigation into the 2020 presidential election?
I'd like to answer that.
Go right ahead. You only take my advice sometimes. Anyway, go ahead.
That's really an ignorant question. And if you understand what the word ignorant means, it means the lack of knowledge. If you recall the facts, I was already district attorney when this all came to light. So it's factually impossible.
You were district attorney when what came to light?
When Raffensperger went on Good Morning America or whatever show he went on. I was already district attorney, so what you ask is a factual impossibility. Now, I know they've gotten black folks confused and said I was running for office, saying I was going to prosecute the President of the United States, but that's what we call a lie.
Okay. I would like
Take
to...
your advice from here on out, okay?
Yeah.
If you take a look at the screen for me, if you will. This is from Mr. Wade's deposition to members of Jim Jordan's committee.
What makes this like kind of strange is that I don't know anybody on this panel, first of all, but just listening to the guy asking the questions, and what the questions are, this panel it would be the same as if Donald Trump was sitting up there and asking questions of the woman that tried to send him to prison, and it's not over, is what I would say, but Donald Trump will probably commit more crimes that'll land him in prison before then.
It was asked of the search committee. You said that began when D.A. Willis took office on January 1, 2021. Is that correct? Yes. And there was outreach to you to be part of the search committee prior to January 1, 2021. Absolutely. When did that start? Sometime after the election, but prior to her taking office. Okay, so between the election, you're referring to November 2020 election. Is that correct? Yes, ma'am. And so when you had conversations with individuals, you said, I'm going to read you some additional testimony. I'll try to put it on the screen.
You can read me as much as you want, but
I will. Thank you, Madam DA. And I apologize. I did not intend to have to get into this here. When Mr. Wade says that there was an interview on line 13, as you'll see here, this is prior to you entering office. What were you interviewing him for?
I didn't interview him prior to him entering office. He had a thriving law practice. Even when he ends up being offered the position, he doesn't want it.
Okay, now. So it's your testimony today that you and Mr. Wade did not have any conversations prior to you taking office relative to an investigation into the 2020 election.
Don't answer that. That is a deliberative privilege of what goes on in a district attorney's mind in the process that goes.
She wasn't district attorney.
She was.
Prior to being sworn in, she was district attorney?
No, she was not. But you asked.
I'll return to my question. Prior to you being sworn in as district attorney, is it your testimony today that you did not have any conversation with Mr. Wade about investigating the 2020 election?
Do you want to answer?
It's a dumbass question.
I know it is, but go ahead and tell him because it occurred after she took office. But go
I
ahead.
didn't know that he was going to commit a crime prior to me taking office. Like, factually, it's impossible.
Okay, thank you. Would you agree with the statement? Actually, I'll skip that question. When did you decide to hire, outside of your office, a special assistant district attorney for this election case?
Oh, Lord. So when I became the district attorney of Fulton County, the office was in absolute chaos. I have to take you back. Can you hear me?
It's a little. I was going to try to turn you up if you don't mind leaning forward.
When I became the district attorney of Fulton County, the office was in absolute chaos, and I mean every level of chaos. On the ground, the carpet was molded and there were holes in it, and it was disgusting, a disgusting environment. There were boxes in offices, some to where you couldn't open the door. I remember walking through the office before. I told you I'd fired 50 or 60, I don't know exactly how many employees that I felt were unqualified to do this work. That doesn't mean they were bad people, but they were unqualified for the positions that they held. There were 18,000, write that down, 18,000 unindicted cases that went back 6 or 7 years that I was looking at. Not to mention another, 10,000 indicted cases in the system. Now, some that the judges had hid on judicial hold, but they were still there. So the office was in absolute chaos. And then I'm in the office on, I came in that Saturday, so that would have been day one. That was the day that I walked through the office. And I'm literally in the office that Monday or Tuesday, I can't recall now what day it is. And there's this phone call and the Secretary of State saying, oh, the proper venue to investigate this might be Fulton County. And under threat during that time period. He told me that him and his beautiful wife had survived that, but that he was an older gentleman now. I'm going to say that nicely. He was an older gentleman, and due to the nuts that would come out of the woodwork if I was doing this type of work, that he was not at a juncture in his life where he could take those kind of security risks. He also refused to work for $250 an hour.
I can attest to that.
We've got some question in here, Governor, on your rates, and we'll get to that in a little bit. You did, Madam DA, you considered several attorneys for this case in addition to Mr. Barnes?
I did.
And ultimately, you selected Mr. Wade to oversee the anti-corruption unit. Is that correct?
He never oversaw the anti-corruption unit.
My apologies. To oversee the elections interference case.
To manage, yes.
How would you delineate manage versus my choice of oversee?
They're the same.
Okay. What happened between January 2021, I believe that's when the phone call was that you referenced, in November 2021, which was the time that Mr. Wade signed his first contract? What type of work happened within any area of your office in terms of gathering evidence or considering whether or not to bring these charges?
You want me to answer? Not particularly. I don't think it's any of their business.
You're getting into why a grand jury returns a bill of indictment. That is a deliberative process wrapped in the discretion of the district attorney. We're not going to get, I'm going to instruct her not to answer. Wait just a minute. Let me finish. You can, if you see fit, you can seek to enforce that question, at which time she would be entitled to a jury trial in Fulton County, and I would be able to cross-examine you, with each one of you, with a real judge ruling on real law. But until that happens, I'm going to instruct her not to answer.
So on your advice of counsel, you're asserting privilege?
I'm telling her not to answer.
I'm clarifying with the
You
witness.
don't have to answer that. I'm not a potted plant. I can answer.
You can advise. You can absolutely advise your client, Governor Barnes. I'm asking your
I
client.
suggest you move on.
I'm asking your client if you are asserting privilege on the answer to the question.
I made the objection on the record and told you even what you can do to enforce it.
What was the total cost of the election interference case?
I don't recall, but if we want to talk about cost, I'd love to talk about how last year alone the AG paid one lawyer $8 million.
You don't know what the cost you don't know the cost of the election interference case?
I don't know the exact cost.
What's the range?
I don't want to speculate to numbers. Whatever it cost, they tried to steal the rights of thousands of Georgians. It couldn't have been enough.
What was the rough total operating budget of your office last year?
I don't know that. It's probably around $40 million. That's a speculation and a guess. That includes state money, grant money, and that's not an exact number. I don't do the budget. I have very high-level conversations about that.
Okay. Can you give us a rough breakdown of that, the county budget and the state budget?
I cannot, and I'm not going to guess for you.
Does the federal government give you any money?
I do have some grants, yes.
The only source of federal money you get is from grants?
To my knowledge, I don't. There may be something else. We may have some federal seizure money. If we do, it's not much. So I don't know. I don't want to speculate if I say, oh, they gave me grant money and this federal seizure money, and you find some line item someplace that I don't know, you'll swear I was trying to lie to you when the truth is I don't know the correct answer.
I'm just trying to get to, I know you run a tight ship over there, you're proud of your work. I would assume that you would have
I'm the best
some
DA
sort
in the Southeast. Why wouldn't I be proud of my work?
What's your annual budget?
I told you it's around $40 million, but I do not know an exact number.
And what's the approximate source of funds that you receive from the state versus the county?
Me, like every other district attorney in the state, do not receive enough funds. I told you that you all pay 20 to 25 ADAs. I don't know the exact number. I don't have it in front of me. You pay two legal assistants and one investigator. Now, Fulton County is 1,000,002 people. It's the place that when people come to Georgia, they're coming is to Atlanta. On a daily basis, we have 5 million people, and we are very improperly funded. If this committee wants to do some real work, it'll get serious about crime fighting among this state. From every rural community to I'm answering my question.
I'm good. That's not the answer to the question.
Okay, well,
You have the right to finish your answer.
if this committee wants to get serious about legislation to make the communities in the state of Georgia safer, they will invest more money in every district attorney's office across this state. That's the rural DAs need more.
That flows into the Fulton County coffers, so to speak, and when you remit payment, you do that through the Fulton County accounting system. Is that correct?
Your question was compound. I didn't understand.
Sure. I'll try to break that down. When checks are written as a result of a check request made by your office, those checks are paid by Fulton County. Is that correct?
I don't know how every check is written and if that's going to be 100% accurate, so I'm going to refrain from asking that question. What I can tell you is that, and probably happens in every other circuit, the district attorney has control over their budget and they don't have to go to the county. But I understood I was a woman DA coming in the office. I also understood that I was African American, and so therefore there would always be a target on my back. And so I did two things financially. One is I've never, so people can stop requesting, had a credit card associated with that office. Never. So I've never had a credit card, will never have a credit card. The other thing I did is that there is a CFO of Fulton County, a white female. Her name is Sharon Whitmore. I believe you've heard from her. And so I made it so that the procedures of my office, although I did not have to do it, that it has to go through her for clearance. That way nobody would say the district attorney stole any money.
Okay, that gets to the core of my question. So when you're paying vendors, when you're paying contractors, that's going through, I think you said her name was Ms. Whitmore, and she did testify before the committee. What I'm getting to, and I'm trying to figure out, is whether when the state funds come in, the federal funds come in, the county funds come in, are those paid for out of separate accounts, or those funds kind of commingled?
I feel like they don't really have anything on her, and this is all just like it's a fishing trip, and they're just seeing if they could get her on something
into a general budget, if you will, and that gets allocated.
No, I said federal.
Okay.
I don't think there's much in the federal forfeiture account.
Do you receive state forfeiture funds?
I do.
Approximately how much a year is that in an average year?
I don't know the number to that. I can bill, and they would do it. You and Jim Jordan working together?
I've never talked to Mr. Jordan.
Some approval.
Do you know of any delineation between the allotment, the allowance of uses between state forfeiture funds
there's definitely
and federal?
rules. There's definitely rules.
I was asking about the difference between federal and state, if there's any rules there.
There are rules to both, and I don't know I can't tell you the rules for each. Anytime we were going to make an expenditure, we would look at it, I'm sure.
Do you know if those funds are commingled at all within your system?
I don't know it, but I would believe not.
Okay. Who is it? You mentioned that you've got people. Who is it that oversees the use of forfeiture funds in the office?
It's going to be the county that stuff is going to go back to the county.
Okay. And do you know whether or not any forfeiture funds were used to pay Mr. Wade?
I'm not aware of that. We would have submitted the invoices to the county. The county would have used one of those mini line items. They would have paid them.
Can you think of a reason why forfeiture funds would be used to pay Mr. Wade?
I guess he's...
She just told you that she doesn't know. So
yeah, you were asking me to speculate.
You do not know whether Mr. Wade was paid with state forfeiture funds or not?
You're asking me to speculate?
No, I'm asking if you know whether or not any forfeiture funds were used.
I'm unaware of that.
Okay.
I'm unaware if the answer is yes. I'm unaware if the answer is no. What I'm aware of is the process was turn in a bill, and they would do it. You and Jim Jordan working together?
I've never talked to Mr. Jordan. Just
I don't know
want
about
to point
that. Anybody who doesn't report people that get raped in college, I'm going to have to disagree
Just
with you there,
wanna point
Governor.
this out.
Man, get him! Jim Jordan, GYM.
You recognize the bottom form here, Fulton County Court Payment Voucher?
I don't.
Is this you've never seen any document in this format before?
Never.
Okay. Well, this shows a number of things here. It shows what fund it was paid from here, which is 440, which is the forfeiture fund account. You can see. Okay. What's the accounting process? That's kind of what I was getting to earlier. Of kind of, if it was your understanding he was paid out of the professional services budget, that would intimate that there's some sort of accounting procedure within either your office or the county office where there are separate fund allocations. And I asked you if your funds were commingled and everything was paid out of the same, or if there were dedicated accounts. So you were unaware that Mr. Wade was paid out of the forfeiture funds. You believe he was paid out of the professional services funds. What would be the process, as you understand, in your office to determine what fund a invoice is paid from?
You're in the weeds, and I don't know the answer.
Okay. We've already talked about the selection of the special SADAs, special assistant district attorneys. I may use those interchangeably. The process of interviewing Governor Barnes, among some other folks, ultimately settling on Mr. Wade.
Well, I don't want you to act like he was,
Well, after talking to 2 or 3 people, I think, to be fair, I don't think
he's
I'm
a
not saying
lawyer,
it's the
been
bottom.
practicing law 25 years.
Sure. What was the reason that you chose to use, and I think if you could just unpack this for us a little bit more, that you chose to use a special assistant DA at the rate of $250 an hour versus using the attorneys that were already in your office, or hiring additional attorneys at a rate that you referenced earlier is between, I think you said, between $85,000 and $200,000 a year?
Because we were drowning. And so most of the lawyers I had in the office wouldn't be qualified to do that work, most of them. I had some that were qualified to do that work, but each of them had a major project. Let me use those 2 cases that mattered most to me, Kennedy Maxey and Sequoia Turner. I was determined we were going to win those cases. So on day 1, those cases got handed to Miss Dacia Young. In addition to handing her that, because nobody has one job, I handed her the Special Victims Division, at which time had like 8 units. So it's ridiculous. I know a little girl who just graduated Georgetown Law, and she's making $280,000, $300,000 a year. We do not take public service seriously, and we need to, because my lawyers do greater work than most of these lawyers in this civil firm.
And let me point out one thing. You're using gross amounts. That doesn't include
Benefits.
The perks, the health insurance, and all that stuff, which Wade did not have.
Sure. So describe for me the experience level of your top paid, or somebody that would fall within the category of the top paid assistant district attorney that works for you at the $200,000 a year, and to Governor Barnes' point, plus benefits. Let's just say that that's $250, and if I take that divided by 2,000 hours, that's about $125 an hour.
I don't understand the question.
My question is, what is the experience level of the assistant district attorneys?
Are you trying to intimate that you're going to tell me who to hire and how to do my job?
No, ma'am. I'm asking you, the people, the wonderful people that you have hired, they're at the top of your pay scale at $200,000 a year. What is their experience level? Because I'll let you answer that, and I'll ask my next question.
20 years practicing or more.
And it's your testimony that somebody with 20 years practicing or more would not be able to manage the election interference case?
You are really not listening. I said that I had people at that pay rate, and each of them was assigned a major task within my office. And no, I did not have anyone that was not assigned with a major task that I trusted to manage this case. And so I made a decision. The people of Fulton County elected me to make that decision, and I did.
Is there a reason why you decided to go the special assistant district attorney route via independent contractor as opposed to a new full-time hire?
I think it's asked and answered, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it was cheap. You don't have to pay the perks.
Governor, I'm happy for you to provide counsel to your client, but in terms of testimony, that's what the district attorney is here for today.
Well,
Can you describe?
Give you fair notice. I'm not going to allow her to answer repetitive questions that have been answered time and time again.
Were there any internal policies that you had that kind of drew a line between you when you would use your internal staff versus hiring a special assistant district attorney, or was it more so based on workload like you described?
It was based on my decisions.
Okay. At its peak, how many total attorneys were working on the election interference case?
Maybe 9, approximately.
You referenced to Mr. Cross before. I believe that's a...
Who?
I believe you referenced to Mr. Cross before.
I don't know Mr. Cross.
A couple minutes ago. Ms. Cross, I apologize.
What about him?
Her.
Who are you talking about?
Miss Anna Cross.
I never referenced Miss Anna Cross.
I believe you referenced Ms. Cross when we were going through...
I didn't read back the testimony.
Can you give me a breakdown of the total attorneys that were on the case? How many of those were full-time within your office, and how many of those were independent contractors?
I believe I had 3 independent contractors.
One of those being Mr. Wade. Who were the other 2?
John Floyd, Anna Cross. Diversity, white male, white female, black male. Diversity is intentional.
What kind of experience do you look for in those special assistant district attorneys?
They're all amazing lawyers. John Floyd is the RICO expert. He wrote the book, literally. He taught me RICO. So that was his experience. He's not he's not necessarily going to be the trial prosecutor, but he certainly is great to help you put together an indictment, and he is certainly capable of questioning a witness, but that was not his forte. Ms. Cross is a brilliant mind. She writes beautifully, and is very well versed in the law. I'd worked for a prosecutor in the past, so I looked for smart people with integrity that could do the work. And I got 3 lawyers, each the guy put in different skin, that could do the work.
Thank you for giving us Ms. Cross's background on the rest of those as well. Has Mr. Wade ever prosecuted a RICO case prior to the election interference case?
Mr. Wade certainly was served as a prosecutor before this. He also has worked as a criminal defense attorney, and I believe he has defended RICO cases.
But as far as you know, he had not prosecuted.
I didn't need him for that. That's why I get to make the selection and not you.
Has he ever prosecuted any felonies? I know you've referenced him prosecuting cases. It's my understanding that this was the first felony case that he was on the prosecutor side for. Is that accurate?
I'm not sure if that's accurate. I know I believe he did some work for the Attorney General, although the Attorney General never tries as many cases as my office. But different people are needed for different things. And the people of Fulton County elected me to make those decisions. And I know y'all want to come in and be daddy and create QAnon committees that will judge prosecutors and have these committees. But
QAnon committees.
I won this vote by 68% this time, 87 in the Democratic, 68 the general, 72% last time. So the people of Fulton County have selected me to make these choices, and I make them. And my city and county are safer because I make them.
In your prior testimony with Ms. Ashley Merchant, there was conversation around what she referred to as block billing. How would you describe block billing?
Oh, let's talk about Ms. Merchant.
Let's just talk about block billing, please.
We're not.
You've opened it now.
I've opened the question to block billing.
The credibility of whoever's saying it is an issue.
Well, then let's just.
So I'd like to talk about what this committee did the last time we were here, and for the press, I will have 50 copies of this so each person can get a copy. You all, the last time y'all had a committee meeting, you all purported this lie that I had the honor of meeting Vice President Kamala Harris.
Me?
No, I'm going to answer this question right now. And when you stated that it was me and it was Mayor Dickens. And then you put this exhibit up for the entire world to see. How disingenuous, how lacking of integrity for Ms. Merchant as an attorney to put it up, and for Counselor, who I noticed is cowardly not here, to have it here. This clearly says, I'm at a Black History Month project. Almost every important Black elected official across the country was invited to it. I'm on the lawn with a cocktail, and yet y'all tell the world I was sitting down with the vice president having a meeting. It was a damn lie. And this is the evidence of it. And y'all had the audacity to put it up on a screen as if you were showing something other than the DA was having a cocktail on the lawn. I have never even had the honor of meeting Vice President Kamala Harris. Never.
How would you define block billing?
Jesus Christ, dude.
Like somebody who didn't know what the hell they were talking about.
I'm going to refer you to the screen.
I don't review those documents, so you're asking me to look at documents that I haven't for the first time. What I can tell you is that I allowed Mr. Wade to bill 160 hours a week, and then Mr. Wade would be the first one in the office making sure that my staff arrived. He corrected their behavior. They thought that 8:30 meant 8:30. He taught them that 8:30 means 7:45. He got there before them. He left after him. He taught them how to do this case, and he was a leader to that team and a public servant. And for that, him like me has been threatened thousands of times. You want something to investigate as a legislature? Investigate how many times they've called me the N-word. Why don't you investigate that? Why don't you investigate them writing on my house? Why don't you investigate the fact that my house has been swatted if you want something to do with your time that makes sense? And you can use all this in your campaign ad. You attacked Fani Willis. What have you done, sir? Nothing.
So I'm going to refer you to the screen. I know you said you don't approve.
I don't look at this. I've never seen it, so I can't talk to you about documents I don't approve and don't review. Can't talk to you about it.
Who does approve the documents in your office when invoices come in?
I thought we'd been through this.
I don't believe you said who reviews the invoices and approves the invoices in your
First of all, I have no first-hand knowledge of it.
You have no first-hand knowledge.
You want me to testify about something I don't have any first-hand knowledge of?
I'm asking.
Are you asking me to speculate? Because I've clearly told you I don't have any first-hand knowledge of it, and I'm not going to speculate.
The question is, when an invoice comes into your office from a special assistant district attorney, what is the review process for that invoice before it's paid?
And she's answered this. She said she has a deputy of operations, and he reviews, or she reviews, and then it goes through the county. So it's a repetitive question.
What's the name of the deputy of operations?
The question has been asked and answered, and I believe it goes straight to the county, so I'm not sure. Dexter Bond.
Okay. Do you know who ATG may be, initials within your office?
I don't.
I would assume that it's accurate to say it's probably not Dexter Bond?
I don't. It may be somebody at the county.
What we're looking at here are two bills that were paid by and approved by your department. The one on the left is from the Cross firm, which refers to Anna Cross that we referenced earlier. The one on the right is invoice number 11 from Nathan Wade. And the first thing that...
Let me tell you why this is such a damn joke.
The first thing that jumps out to me as a non-lawyer, but as someone who has paid lawyer bills before, and I believe this gets to the question, the question which was around block billing. And here's my question for you, Madam DA. Are there rules in your contracts or otherwise when you hire independent contractors that gets to the billing methodology for your attorneys? In other words, are they allowed to always bill to the even hour, or is there a professional expectation that they would bill to the 10th?
Let me tell you something. I had 3 attorneys working with me that had integrity. For you to insinuate that a judge that sat for 10 years and was the head of the magistrate court judges, that they did something illegal. They were underpaid. I have here documents where in one annual year, because I want you to remember his bills were over the course of 3 years, in one annual year made $8 million, made $5 million. And I'm going to make sure that the press has that, so that when you're asking me about this great service to the state of Georgia, that it is understood that these are more than reasonable, actually bargain basement amounts. Ms. Cross would insist that I wrote government rate in her contract because she didn't want anyone to get confused that she would actually work for this rate, but for the fact that it was service to her community. So I don't know what we're talking about here, but to insinuate these 3 lawyers that have great integrity, have served this community well, did something unethical, I don't know why we're having this conversation.
I'm trying to...
I don't know anything about whatever you're talking about.
The state of Georgia.
So my understanding is when it comes to court and hearings and stuff, if you have like evidence or something, you have to share it with the other side before like that day before that trial. And basically what this committee is doing is they just found a bunch of paperwork and they're like, hey, explain this paperwork. And they're just, and Fanni Willis is basically, I don't even know if this is real, dude. You're just putting up some bullshit. I don't even know. Like this committee is not, if this is what is running Georgia and was running Georgia, this is why Donald Trump never got convicted for his election interference. And I believe Rudy Giuliani was in on it too. He was about to get, I don't even know what's going on with that. I think he was pardoned. This is just this incompetence of the Senate committee is just it's shocking, really. And also the combativeness of Fanni Willis is hilarious too.
Georgia allocates funding to your office.
They hire those 25 lawyers, yes.
And we are trying to, the question in here is relative to the approval process of invoices that are paid by your office. You have testified that is done by Dexter Bond, that you're unaware of who this ATG is that signed off on this. We'll move on to this further line of questioning here.
You know, old men have to go to the bathroom about every hour.
Governor, would you like a 5-minute recess? We'll take a 5-minute recess.
To the rates of the AG. I would like you to know that in 2020, the Attorney General of this state paid $52,000 in attorney's fees. I've done initial $52 million in attorney's fees with the top recipient in a year, initial AF. I've taken $52,000 in attorney's fees. I've done initial $52 million in attorney's fees with the top recipient in that year, initials AF. I've taken off their name at $3,593,000. That was for 2020. In 2021, again, in excess of $52 million, with the top one in that year being AD as the initials, $2,673,000. I should note the great Josh Belafonte was one of the recipients that year, and he made $1.3 million in 2021. In 2022, the AG's office spit on special prosecutors $55 million. DS being the top recipient for that year, $2 million, $200,000. Josh Belafonte made $911,000. In 2023, the AG's office spent $65 million with the top recipient making $5 million, initials MR, and I'm going to finish. And 2024, the top recipient was MR, and they made $4.6 million. And then let's not leave off 2020.
All right, we're going to move on to the next question here.
Dollars by the AG on special prosecutors, with the top recipient MR making $8,181,421,000. And y'all are talking to me about pennies. Right, and I have a copy for the press, 50 if you like them.
And I'd like this included in the record.
All right, we're going to move on to our next question here.
And it is.
I think I skipped a little too far on that one. I'm pretty sure she's referring to Attorney General's corruption from other states.
Since you're questioning the rate of the special prosecutor.
That's for the press.
All right, I want to refer your attention to the screen.
Also, you know, the visual of this, to have a bunch of white men grilling this black woman it's very emblematic of what this country is, man. I'm glad they put a black dude on here, but you know that's one of those token black guys, like an Officer Tatum or like a sorry, I'm drawing a blank on that one, but we know what the token black people are.
You seen this letter before?
It's got my signature on it.
Do you have seen this letter before?
Yes, that's how it got signed.
You sent this letter on December 17th, 2021, requesting access to documents from the January 6th committee, Chairman Representative Thompson. Is that correct?
I did.
Okay. Did you or anyone in your office receive help in your investigation from the January 6th Commission?
What do you want me?
What do you mean by help?
Did they send you documents?
Well, they're public documents now.
Did they send you any documents that were not public? That were not public at the time? 'Cause
None that I can
believe the report's
recall.
been
None that I
released.
can recall.
In the letter, you offer to meet them in person. Did they take you up on the offer to meet in person?
I've never met Thompson.
Have you ever met anyone that was doing work with the January 6th Commission?
Not to my knowledge. I may have met them and not known they were doing that work.
Mr. Wade traveled to D.C. with members of your staff. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And Mr. Wade billed for conference calls with the January 6th Committee. Is that correct?
I haven't looked at the bills.
What difference does that make?
On the left side of the screen here, and I apologize, the camera's in your way. There's a screen
It
over
makes
here.
You
no
have to remember
difference.
the criminals that I
See.
indicted, they had committed crimes all over the country. And so as a result, as a prosecutor, if you know that a criminal has done crimes in this state and other states, it would almost not be due diligence to try to get information from them. Here goes some more legislation you can take up. There is a process called TUI with the federal government where state prosecutors try to get information from federal prosecutors. They are not very helpful.
On this bill, on the left-hand side, the first red
I haven't
highlight.
seen the bill, sir. You remember?
That's why I'm showing it to you, Madam DA. It says team meeting, conference with January 6th, research legal issues to prep, and it ends with V. He testified, and the testimony is on the right side of the screen, that
Man,
interview.
$250
The second
an
one
hour.
is travel out of state.
That's amazing.
Interview and research, which was from April 27th until April 29th. Are you aware of a trip that Mr. Wade took out of state that your office paid for in April of 2022?
Yes.
What was the purpose of the trip?
I don't recall.
Okay.
I'm sure to get information on some of the criminals I ended up indicting.
This slide here shows essentially a reimbursement request on the right-hand side for Mr. Wade at the Hyatt Place Hotel. And on the left-hand side, this is an invoice for the Hyatt Place Hotel during the time period I referenced earlier for Mr. Michael Hill.
But that's an interesting point. Two grand juries said these people did.
Wade, the highlighted section, I'll just read it out loud, says January 6th meeting and ATTY Conf. That's from November 16th of 2022. And then there's a second entry immediately below that, interview with DC/White House, November 18, 2022. Have you seen this bill?
No.
Are you aware of phone calls or conferences that Mr. Wade either attended or was a part in that relates to the J6 committee or the election interference case working with the J6 committee that's separate from the April trip that we just discussed?
We didn't do much work with a J6 committee. So I've never seen this bill before. And I believe the only thing that we called the White House about was, did we have to go through the TUI process with that White House like we have to do with the Department of Justice? That's my recollection. That could be right or wrong. But we were trying to speak to people in the Trump administration, the first one. So I don't believe we had a lot of contact with the White House. So I'm not aware.
You said you were trying to speak with people that are part of the first Trump administration in these travels to D.C., or are you just saying that more generally?
More generally.
Okay. And just to clarify, I want to make sure that I have the record correct here. You are unaware of who Mr. Wade...
I can't recall those levels of details. I know you want to take me back to 1948, where an African-American prosecutor can only prosecute certain types of people, but I prosecute and stand up for all victims that come into my circuit.
When was the special purpose grand jury impaneled?
I don't remember the date, but that's an interesting point. Two grand juries said these people did these crimes.
The date that I have
And
is...
the grand jury was made up of independents, Democrats, Republicans.
The date that I have is January 24th of 2022. Does that seem like it's within the range of being the correct date?
So I already stated I don't trust you. I understand you're trying to run for lieutenant governor right now. Anything you want me to testify to, I'm going to need to see.
Okay. Were you aware within between the time of
Damn.
the special grand jury being sworn in and receiving evidence, Mr. Wade?
Damn. You're running for lieutenant governor, so I don't trust anything? Like, that is gnarly, dude.
Traveled to Athens, Georgia to meet with officials from the White House counsel's office.
I don't recall.
On the right-hand side here is the meeting that I reference. The highlighted section reads, travel to Athens, conf with White
How
House
does this
counsel.
assist you in developing laws for Georgia? Because I believe the purpose that I'm here for is because you all need assistance in doing your job, and you want assistance with rules and regulations around how people should be a prosecutor. And it made sense to me that you'd come to the best prosecutor in the state to ask for some advice. But I'm confused as to how this assists you and what the purpose of me being here is.
The committee has a broad purpose. I'd be happy to refer to counsel as to the overall purpose of the committee, but
It's
my
like-
question for you is...
It's like an
as it relates
I
to
don't
accounting
think it's
meeting.
relevant, so I'm objecting
We're
on
talking about
relevance.
her
She's
accounting.
asked and answered that. She's told you that the TUI process goes through the White House counsel's office. She's asked, it's been asked and answered.
And it's your testimony today that the travel to Athens, conference with the White House counsel, as far as you were aware, was due to a part of this TUI process that the governor's referencing.
I've testified I don't recall anything about this,
Okay.
and I don't see how it's relevant to what your alleged purpose is. Now, your real purpose is to try to get elected, which I would say, Georgia, please, let's elect any lieutenant governor but this one.
We'll get to your work trying to elect lieutenant governors in a second, Madam DA, but for now we're talking about the
I've done no
travel
work with
to
an
DC.
elected governor, but if I will do some work with this. I see that Counselor left you
contract.
alone today,
I'm not
and
going-
he is running to be Attorney General of this state,
Madam DA,
and
we're
he
gonna
is
answer
not
the question.
qualified to be such. By record, by this document where he put up a false document trying to prove that I met with the Vice President, that shows you he does not have ethics. But there is somebody running for Attorney General that has been a state prosecutor, a federal prosecutor, a civil rights attorney, and a state's legislature. So if people want to vote for people that are ethical and actually have the experience to do the job, I say go donate now to Tanya Miller.
Damn. A plug for her, who she wants to be the AG of Georgia. And these guys just got to sit there and take that shit. God, these guys suck.
Now, I'd ask you about Mr. Wade. Did you speak with anyone that had worked with the January 6th committee or was a lawyer for the J6 committee?
That's been asked and answered. She said
That's the
she'd
third
never
time
done
I've heard
it
that
herself.
question, actually.
That's what she testified.
Did you
That
communicate
is-
with members of the J6 committee through any intermediaries that relayed messages back and forth on your behalf?
I don't recall ever speaking to any one of the January 6th committee. What you asked me, though, is have I ever met someone? I am a public official. I meet people all over this country all the time. Shake hands, take pictures, kiss babies, all the things elected officials do. So I have no idea if I've ever met someone that may have been part of the January 6th committee.
And I want, what is J6? Is that where they stormed the Capitol?
And killed a police officer?
That is what J6
Is that the
is.
same committee we're talking about? So that it's clear on the
When they
record.
tried to
The
stop
ones that have been
the
exonerated, we say that we stand with law enforcement, but don't care when police officers
stop
get killed.
the
We're going to
inauguration of
continue
Joe
on to the next
Biden.
question. Governor, you are here to advise your counsel. You're not here to pontificate. Absolutely.
It is absolutely irrelevant, everything that you're trying to say.
How does this help you with laws? Yes, I'm sorry, Judge. I'm sorry, Governor.
If you've got something to ask it, but don't go into, well, there must have been a conspiracy here when they went up and looked into the folks that broke into the Capitol in shamu suits or whatever that was and put the Vice President of the United States out saying, hang Mike Pence, and that they were prosecuted and then pardoned by President Trump, and you're trying to say and infer that it was illegal, immoral to investigate that it was part of a pending case. So
We're asking questions relative to the investigation, Governor. We're going to move on to the next question.
You're trying to infer some wrongdoing where none exists. Ask the question, let's move on.
Thank you for
Also
thank-
to
thank
divide
you,
this
Governor.
country, and it should be noted that there
We're
were
gonna move on to the
many
next
great,
question.
honorable Republicans that brought this case to me because they knew what happened was wrong. One of them is Duncan, who's now running for governor.
So you have your endorsement.
I didn't endorse him,
Wait just a minute, don't answer that question.
So
but I do think it should be noted that although you are trying to divide this country, that this country is not divided. Most people in this country are trying to do the right thing every day as they get up for work. Most people know when someone is murdered and victimized, you don't act as a depraved human being and tease them and their family in their greatest time of loss. Most people.
Oh, she's talking about Rob Reiner.
talk about a little bit of a timeline as it relates to D.C. And just lay out a fact pattern here, and I'll ask you a couple questions. On November 9th, then President Biden stated and was asked about President Trump returning to office, and he stated that we just have to demonstrate that he will not take power. If he does run, making sure he, under legitimate efforts of our Constitution, does not become the next
Now we're
president.
going to talk
And you're
about
familiar
Joe
with that
Biden now.
Quotation from the president.
Great.
Nothing to do with this inquiry. If you want to subpoena President Biden,
They are
subpoena him
obsessed
down
with Joe
here.
Biden.
I might even
The
represent
old
him.
senile man. They are
I hope
who
he's got
beat
something
Donald
else.
Trump. Obsessed.
We're getting mighty thin.
So, a couple of days after this, President Trump did indeed announce that he was running for president. As you can see on the date there, November 15th, 2022. And then the very next day, and we've referenced this a second ago, but we're going to go back to it.
This helps you develop legislation. How?
The very next day, there was a conversation between Mr. Wade. I'm sorry, there was an 8-hour, was described here as an interview with D.C. and the White House.
Interview with who?
It reads interview D.C./White House. It's on the screen.
Ask and answer. They said that they had.
And I'm laying a foundation here, Governor.
Don't answer yet. Let me listen to the question.
On November 18th, the very same day as this 8-hour phone call with the White House, U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland appointed Special Counsel Jack Smith. And around that same period of time, some news reports say the same day, but we know within 2 weeks of that time, Matthew Colangelo, who was the former third highest ranking official at DOJ, tendered his resignation to take a position in the Manhattan prosecutor's office, which would go on to also indict President Trump.
He committed crimes in a lot of places.
True.
Convicted by the jury of his peers.
And you know,
So
you all
on
want to,
November-
no,
on
this is
November-
very important.
November-
You all want to intimidate people from doing the right thing, and you think that you're going to intimidate me. You all have been trying to intimidate me for 5 years, which is why I have not been able to live in my house for 5 years, because the N-word has been written on my house. Thousands of threats have come to my office, and instead of doing some legislation,
Madam
when
Chair,
someone,
just
no,
to
no, no,
get
when
you
someone
to
says
stop
something
before the committee.
inflammatory that you know is going to cause them to be the victims of crime, you want to do something about it. But you see, I'm not Marjorie Taylor Greene. I ain't gonna quit in a month because somebody threatened me. I took an oath to do the right thing. People came into my community and committed a crime, and I indicted them. And rest assured, if someone else comes in my community and commits a crime, I will indict them again.
The special purpose grand jury released this
Jesus.
report just under a month after this time frame on December 15th of
And said
2022.
39 people should be indicted, but in my discretion and looking at the evidence that was the most damning, I chose to only present an indictment to the grand jury of 19. And who knew? The citizens of Fulton County, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, non-politicals, all said these 19 people deserve to be indicted, and they were.
The question was, the special purpose grand jury released this report just under a month after this phone call between Mr. Wade and the White House, just a month after, on the very same day, Jack Smith was appointed by Merrick Garland, and just a month after the third-ranking member of the Department of Justice left the Department of Justice to go work for Alvin Bragg, that date being December 15th, 2022. Is that the date that the special purpose grand jury released its report?
I don't recall.
Yes, don't answer that. And let me tell you
What are you talking about, dude?
Does that...
She said she did not recall. And to try to, everybody's a crook in your mind. Jack Smith.
Well, there were some crooks.
Well, I know, but
They were on the indictment.
So you reference your prosecutorial discretion and bringing these charges. I believe you say 50. You were talking kind of fast there. Was it 50 that you
I said that the grand jury recommended that 19 people be indicted. It's there. It's part of public record. What I did was look at all of the evidence against each of those persons, and I chose to only put forth an indictment that talked about the 19 most culpable. Those 19 were presented to a grand jury.
I just want to
That
clarify. You
grand
said 19
jury,
twice. I just want to clarify your testimony.
19 people were indicted.
Originally, how many were recommended? You said 19 for both.
39 were recommended. 19 were presented.
How many of the electors, there were 16 electors here in the Capitol that cast votes for President Trump, is that correct?
I object. They were not electors
There were six.
Talking about the fake electors that y'all sat in a hearing and listened to, many of y'all.
in this same room.
I was not in the room, but I'm referencing there were 16 electors who took part in that meeting. Is that your understanding?
Why are you not offended that people came before you and lied?
Were there 16
I don't
electors?
remember. I don't remember.
Okay. How many did you indict?
What does this have to do with you developing legislation? Because this is not relevant. So I'm going to object relevance.
Where are we going? I thought this was supposed to be.
I thought y'all needed some help.
It was supposed to be about rules of conduct. And so now you're getting into where the electors met here and they weren't really electors, and how many of them got indicted, and why did you do that?
We're here for far more.
Wait just a minute.
We're here for far more than rules of conduct.
Process on why she chose to do so. It was presented to two grand juries. They returned an indictment on one because an investigative grand jury cannot indict, it can only investigate. And so, how's this to do with the conduct? The legislation. I'm amazed that everybody's fixated that the election was fixed 5 years ago.
We'll come back to this. We'll move on for a second.
Let's move on for a good bit, maybe a half hour.
Well, we'll see what you think of this next slide question, Governor. In January of 2021, you referenced his name earlier, but you hired Jeff DeSantis to be the Deputy District Attorney overseeing the Media Relations Unit of the District Attorney's Office. Is that correct?
And strategy.
Media Relations and Strategy. Can you describe the difference between those two separate roles, or are you just saying that's the title?
That's the title.
It's the title. Okay. Was he serving in your office in April of 2021?
Yes.
Okay. He's classified those in ADA for personnel purposes.
He is a lawyer. He
Yes,
went to
works.
Emory Law School. Was there 2 years ahead of me and graduated. He's my elder.
That's not hard for me.
When you're referencing media relations, how would you describe the overall role of media relations?
This has nothing, I don't read about media relations in any of these resolutions. It's beyond the scope.
This is within the scope of the state's funding to that department.
Not
To
a
that.
question about who's the director of media relations.
I didn't ask you. I'm asking what the role of media relations is.
Neither is that. Don't answer it. I instruct you not to answer it. Completely irrelevant.
Your objection is relevance.
No, my objection is the reason she hired and the reason that she hires and fires employees and the reason that she undertakes to run her office is a matter of employees, which is accepted and is privileged and is a deliberative process.
So you are asserting that the role of a media relations director is privileged.
You can move on.
You want clarity on that, Counselor?
So you're instructing the witness
I'm
not
gonna-
to answer on
I'm
the relevance?
instructing.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm just trying to understand what the objection
My
is.
objection, the word the court report. Here's Coker for you.
It would help if, Governor, respectfully, it would help if the objections could be limited to like 5 to 10 seconds. I mean, I don't need a speaking objection.
I talk slow.
I'll give you 30 seconds, but it's counted by words, Governor.
I'm a country lawyer, and it's real hard for me to get through. It is beyond the scope of the resolution, number
Okay.
one.
All right, can we break and address that? If
I'm going to state my objection. I'm not here.
That's fine, we'll do it all together. I'm just trying to understand. I'm not trying to debate,
I
Governor.
think he's just looking for clarity on your objection, Governor.
Well, it's beyond the scope.
Okay.
Irrelevant. And the decisions she makes on personnel are not subject to inquiry.
All right, on the beyond the scope, I'm sorry. Oh, I can do that, I guess.
I feel like the
It's-
tension is really starting to rise right now. Like everyone is just, they've
I know
been
I'm
here
not
for an
gonna
hour and a
convince you, but I
half
just
at
wanna give you a
least.
chance. I certainly am not going to convince you, Madam DA.
You know, it's,
Whereas, this is lines 26 to 30 of Senate Resolution 5, whereas many have concluded that the conduct of District Attorney Willis has brought her and her office into disrepute.
My office has brought myself into respect.
Ma'am, I'm sorry.
Wait just a minute.
I'm, so-
And so that is...
I'm not done, Governor.
Okay, go ahead.
Undermine public confidence in fair, impartial, and
The public voted me again by 68% respect.
Madam DA, I don't think that it's, well, you continued. I mean, I've got my second fundraiser email from you while we're sitting here.
Did you donate?
Impartial.
What-
I did early on when you ran against Paul Howard. You know
what does that have to do with
You selected the
anything,
best DA in
dude?
the country.
I'm just here as a lawyer, ma'am.
You're
Fair and
probably a
impartial,
terrible
disinterested
one.
administration of justice by prosecutors across our state and cast significant doubt as to the purpose and validity of the charges of her office has brought in regard to the 2020 presidential election. Further, when you get to the language, the actionable language under powers and duties of the committee is hereby reauthorized to undertake legislative investigation into the issues mentioned above or related thereto. So I would submit it's broad. I presume that doesn't change your position, but I just, okay. You say that it is irrelevant. You mentioned at the start of this that you were going to be able to object to privilege. Is it your position that relevance is a privilege that you're asserting?
It's more than just privilege. It is also that it's beyond the scope. And what you've read me there is just confirmed that it's beyond the scope.
Or related thereto when it speaks to...
Related thereto refers to the 2020 election.
Correct. And both you and Madam DA have said that her decision to bring the case and how it was brought and who was brought against, the exact things the Court of Appeals talked about, those initial pretrial decisions,
Correct.
caused people to question the fairness of justice. And so if that is what the courts have said, not me, I'm not here to say one way or the other, but if that's what the courts have said,
When he says cause people to be unsure about the justice, he's talking about Donald Trump and MAGA and all his sycophants. He's not talking about the people. He's talking about Donald Trump. This is all about Donald Trump.
and that is in the language of the Senate resolution, your position is that it is limited to what?
It certainly does not encompass who the press secretary is in the DA's.
Okay, but the question that was on the floor was, what is the role of a media relations person?
What his role would be. How
Fine.
does that got anything to do?
I think the question was, and if you need, I'm sure it could be asked this way, is what is the role of the person? And so to that question, which does not include any individual, but what is the role of the office? The objection is scope and privilege, or scope and relevance?
Correct.
Okay.
And also personality.
And since you mentioned fundraising, I'd like to make sure that this is part of the record. Counselor believing he's going to go after Fani Willis and asking to donate at the last period. I also have 50 of these for the press because this is about folks sitting here trying to get elected.
Eh.
Do we have anything else?
We do have a lot more, Governor. We'll take a lunch break just so you all are aware if you want to make arrangements at 12:30.
I'd like to go straight through.
We'll take a lunch break at 12:30. Madam DA, relative to your full-time employed staff, such as Mr. DeSantis, what rules, if any, exist relative to other work that they can do, either contract work or employment work, outside of your office?
If it's an investigator and they're working a job, off-duty job, extra job, as most police officers do, the chief of investigations has to sign off on approving them for that work site, as well as the district attorney. So that is to the law enforcement that report to me, because, you know, I have a police department there, and so they have to get it signed off on that it's appropriate work. I don't like my investigators working in nightclubs, but they can certainly work at a store, or they like to work at State Farm Arena and things of that nature. If it's professional that's not an investigator and not a lawyer, they're pretty much able to do whatever. Of course, they can't do it on my hours, but they can work whatever. And if it's a lawyer, prosecutors are not able to practice law doing that. If, you know, they were selling pies at Christmas, I probably don't care.
Somewhere in between practicing law and selling pies, are there any restrictions besides that?
None that come to mind.
Okay. Are you aware of an entity called Critical Mention?
I am. I'm aware that you all use it.
What can you tell me about Critical Mention?
Critical mention kind of tells you when your office or an issue that concerns your community comes into the news space. It has been used as a device by my office to find witnesses. It's been used as a device to determine if there's a pressing issue among my constituents that they are concerned about, but it is basically an outlet that lets you
is for, quote, Fani Willis. We're getting more coverage via your name than by title. This graph has the coverage value for the last week at over $150 million. That's obviously high, but even adjusting downward, it's still a huge number. And then what's highlighted in red here is part of the critical mention report that mentions mentions, which I'm going to just assume how often the search, which I think that he said this one is for your first and last name, what the audience was, which was approximately 6.3 million people, and then publicity value, which I think is what Mr. DeSantis is referencing when he references coverage value at $150 million. Do you recall seeing this report?
I don't.
Do you recall critical mention being used at all within your office to track the value of media as it related to the coverage of the election interference case?
I told you she doesn't.
She told me she doesn't recognize this chart. I'm asking generally if she...
Never seen the report.
This report. I'm asking if you've seen any report.
I don't know that I've seen any report, but I've definitely heard Mr. DeSantis say, that these numbers are always inflated. So yes, I've heard of it before. But you're asking me about a particular report.
Have you seen this page from a PowerPoint document before?
I've seen it. I don't recall it.
Okay, this was also sent by Mr. DeSantis to your email. And here, this captures a broader range of time. The first one, I believe, is for just a couple of weeks. This captures essentially the first 11 months of 2021, at which point in time those audience impressions have grown from the previous number of 6 million, if I recall correctly. The publicity value on the last one that we looked at was $150 million. This one is $637 million. Do you recall seeing any other report that was tracking the publicity value of your name, your work, or your prosecutions?
I can never recall seeing a report. Does not mean I have not seen one. I do not recall seeing a report. But so that we're clear, I've heard Mr. DeSantis mention things that are along what you're talking about.
This is an email from Mr. DeSantis dated around the same time frame as the first report, February 17th, and he's referencing now just the first search that he did, which was for Fulton County District Attorney. He lays out that name received $67 million, which he already said was more than your name, and he concludes his email by stating that even half of that value would be staggering.
Right. He doesn't believe the numbers. He thinks they're inflated, and that's kind of what I reference him talking, that he doesn't believe the numbers.
But he does believe that the value, and what value means, that we would all need to interpret there, but that even at half of the value, he believes that would be staggering.
You're asking me to speak on?
No, I'm just stating what I'm reading in the context here.
How does this help?
Well, now I'm going to ask you, as a public prosecutor, why would media coverage and the earned media value, either for your title or your name, be relevant to your job as a prosecutor?
You'll have to ask somebody else, because I don't know the answer to what someone else is thinking. I do know that it has been very important to me, and it continues to be very important to me, that we are very transparent with our public about what we're doing, and that the media, when they're doing their job, it is important that they tell the public what the work is that we're doing, and that they tell them what the services are that we provide them, and that we are always here for them. So that is an important value. The first time, I don't want my constituency to see me, and this is something I say all the time, first time they get to know the Fulton County District Attorney shouldn't be when I'm locking up their nephew. That's not when it should happen. The first time they should see us is when we are out in the community doing service projects, whether that is I am in the schools. I am the only district attorney in the country that all year long I am in the schools with our children, making sure that we see them in the classrooms and not the courtroom. So that is me touching my students and their parents. The first time they see me is when I'm giving away book bags. The first time they see me is when we're doing Christmas drives or Thanksgiving drives. The first time they see us is so that they know that they are coming to an office that is a judgment-free zone. And I think it's right, and I have this for the media too, I have a 92% conviction rate this year. I tried more cases than any prosecutor in the state. That's the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District. That's the AG's office. My office is doing this work. We are keeping the community safe. Because I know y'all won't believe me. I brought a report here from the Atlanta Police Foundation talking about how crime is down in our community. And it's not the district attorney's office alone. It is the district attorney's office combined with the law enforcement in this community. See, I care about the police. So I don't excuse that an officer got killed on January the 6th. To me, it's a problem.
The question was, as a public prosecutor, why would media coverage be relevant to your role? And
I answered it.
I don't know that you did, and I want to clarify, because I think what you answered was why public relations are important to your role, and people seeing you before they get locked up and all that stuff you referenced, which I think is valid. My question is, there are multiple emails that are tracking in concurrency with your work in the election interference case.
With my concurrency in work, period. That's the work you're important, that you think is important. I've answered the question. It's asked and answered. We should move on.
The question that I'm asking you is not why are you doing public relations. I'm asking you, why are you tracking the dollar value of your name and your title
And she has told you she does not know the report. She has told you that she has heard it discussed, but she does not know the details. She has told you that it's important to get a message out. And if that's not been asked and answered, I don't know what it is.
Governor, I certainly understand. I'm not asking about the outbound messaging. I'm asking about the inbound tracking of the Dollar Valley. If you believe that we've covered that, we'll move on. This is the first payment for critical mention. That's a yearly subscription of $10,000. You told me earlier you've never seen a payment voucher form from Fulton County, so I would assume you've never seen what's on the bottom right. Is that correct?
I don't think we should assume, but you'd actually be correct.
Okay. I'm assuming that your testimony was correct earlier, and I'm tying it together to right now. The second time that critical mention was used, and we talked earlier about funds and accounts.
That Paul left. There were a couple of them. At the beginning of my term, we put our name on those accounts. Me and District Attorney Howard did not have a conversation. He went to the bank, then I went to the bank, and we used it for things for the office. We've been audited 50 million times, so it's in some audit. There's no DA that's been audited as much as me.
Do you know how much money was in that account when you...
I can't recall any of those facts.
Do you know if you've allocated any additional funds in the time that you've been DA into this account?
I do not believe so. Brings me to an interesting point. We did not want to take in money, and I also wanted to have an office that was transparent. And so in my first 4 years, the only way that a district attorney would take in money would be from open records. Well, I had this great idea as the new DA. I wanted the records of Fulton County DA's office to be equally accessible to the indigent and the rich. Many people abused that, and so I had to change it in term 2. I mention this because I didn't take any money during the first time for open records, and so there's no other reason that a DA would take money in that I can think of. If there is one, I'll have to be educated on it.
As it relates to this, well, let me ask this question. You referenced there was 2 or 3 other accounts?
There was a couple of accounts. We've been auditing all my audits. You know, once y'all started attacking me, they audited me every other week. There is no DA. I just passed the DOJ audit.
Do you recognize the signature on this check?
It looks like DB, Dexter Bond.
Dexter Bond, just for clarity, is your...
Deputy of Operations. That's why he would see these kind of things and I would not.
Do you know what the allowed or the restrictions around the allowed uses of this account, of which you...
All money that we have has to be used for the betterment of my office.
And the only source of funds that you're aware of in this account, it was money that was in the account when you signed it over from former district attorney. Is that correct?
Well, I told you specifically with my investigators, there is an absolute process. They cannot work as investigators or police officers because that is what they are. I think some people don't understand that in a district attorney's office, the investigators are sworn law enforcement officers with very great careers. It's something that a lot of them come to do after they've been police for many years. And we do have a sign-off process because I don't want my investigators to work at nightclubs. I know they pay a lot per hour, but I would prefer them not to do that kind of work, although I do allow them to do extra jobs.
Most recently, as it relates to I will call it the larger story of the case recently, that was a ruling relative to an appearance of impropriety on this case.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about the appearance of impropriety that resulted in your disqualification from the case. Prior to that, your office was investigating the now Lieutenant Governor, was not Lieutenant Governor at the time, Burt Jones. Is that correct?
Well, wait.
I don't understand the question.
I don't understand the question.
Has your office ever conducted an investigation into the then Senator or Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones as it relates to the election?
How does that help you with legislation?
Wait just a minute. Let me do my job.
Yes, sir.
Don't answer it as part of the deliberative process and returning it, and not investigating returning it.
Is it not a matter of public record, Governor?
Well, then why are you asking?
I'm laying a foundation as you would call it.
Well, why don't you skip along to the question?
We're getting there. You're objecting to the
Deliberative process.
it's deliberative as to whether or not Lieutenant Governor Jones is part of an investigation.
It is deliberative because we know he was part of an investigation and he was indicted by 2, or recommended by 1 and by a second one. But the reason he was indicted.
I'm not asking for the reason he was indicted. So I believe that we can agree on the grounds that Lieutenant.
What's the question?
The question is the degree to which Madam DA was aware that Jeff DeSantis, while he was serving in the office, was the registered agent for a business named Charlie Bailey for Georgia.
Okay.
What's your question?
My question is, are you aware that while he was employed by your office, Mr. DeSantis was serving as a registered agent and secretary of an entity called Charlie Bailey for Georgia?
I don't think I knew that until now. But Charlie Bailey, who's now head of the Democratic Party, I consider a great personal friend.
I heard that he was maybe in the Capitol today. I haven't had the opportunity to meet him yet.
He's a former DA, former assistant DA. Prosecutes for real criminals.
Are you aware of any work that Mr. DeSantis did on Mr. Bailey's campaign when he ran for Lieutenant Governor or for, I believe this was for Attorney General?
I'm not aware.
Are you aware of general campaign work that Mr. DeSantis is involved in?
I don't know. Am I aware that he's ever been involved in campaigns?
While he's been working for your office, I'll clarify that.
No, I'm not sure that I do know that he's working for campaigns while employed for the office, but I certainly know that in a prior life that he did work on campaigns. He's like, you know, as we get older, we tell war stories.
Let me ask you, what was the date on that? I can't see.
Well, it varies, Governor.
It says 2/1/2018, which would have been long before I was there, but then it says last annual registration year 2022. So I'm not sure at what point Mr. DeSantis did this. I'm not sure it tells what it purports to tell, but it's on the screen.
Well, he's a registered agent. Anybody can be a registered agent, not be.
Well, the secretary as well is what I was asking about, which is the role of an officer. The officer information is noted there at the bottom. Did you say you were a supporter of Mr. Bailey when he ran for Attorney General?
I said that Mr. Bailey was a friend. I think that was a cute little question you asked. But what I said was that he was a good friend. He used to be an assistant district attorney that reported to me when he was a younger lawyer. I was his supervisor. If you know Attorney Bailey, he's a white male, probably around 40 years old now. And I just adore him and his family.
So you don't recall if you supported him for Attorney General?
I would support Mr. Bailey in anything he does. He has great integrity. Anything he wants to do, I'm here to support him.
So you did support him when he ran for Attorney General?
I'm
trying to get to the core of the question here.
What does that even mean, support? Like, it's also stupid.
If that's not beyond the scope.
Well, we know that Mr. Bailey there was a finding of conflict in this case, specifically relative to Mr. Bailey. I'm sure that part of that may have been to the campaign contributions that were made on behalf of the DA to Mr. Bailey, which is now on the screen. There was a fundraiser, I believe, that was the acute conflict that the judge recognized, and so that's what we're getting into. This is directly applicable to this case.
I don't find it relevant. But he's a friend, and I gave him some money when he was running.
And he used to work for me.
And I'm asking people to give Tanya Miller for Georgia some money so we can get a good attorney general in here. Not a corrupt one that puts false things on screen.
So Mr.
ready
Jones
for
was a
this.
candidate for lieutenant governor.
Yeah,
Is that
things
correct?
ready to say.
It should be noted at the time of that ruling, which I still find to be ridiculous. Mr. Bailey was not running against Mr. Jones. He was running against Kwanzaa, and I can't remember his name. It was a Democratic race. But the ruling was found. I take exception with many of that judge's actions. But, I'll leave that for another day.
At the time of the fundraiser that you did, it was in a primary, and you knew that whoever
That's
was in the
a great
primary-
point. It was a primary. It was not a general. He was not running against Burt Jones. That was a fabrication of facts. He was running against Kwanzaa Hall. His name just came to me. You get older and you forget things, but he was running against Kwanzaa Hall, and I did a fundraiser for him. That is absolutely correct. And he need to give me some money back, $2,500. I need a contribution.
Mr. Jones moved to have you disqualified from the investigation based on your fundraiser. Is that correct?
Yes, and that's something else that I'd like y'all to take up as a legislative body. I think that when judges rule on things that are directly in the favor of legislators, we should have a bar of when they can be appointed to the next bench. Because I'm watching a lot of judges in my career do things in an effort to kind of say, pick me, get promoted. And I think that it would be some good legislation of this body and of the legislature to say that if a judge directly rules on something in the favor of any legislature, it should bar them from being promoted. That'd be some legislation, since y'all want some help with legislation.
And Judge McBurney granted the motion to Mr. Jones to have you disqualified. Is that correct?
Correct. And then surprise, surprise, Scandalakis dismissed the case.
We're going to get to Scandalakis in just a second, but Judge McBurney said that it was, quote, a plain and actual and untenable conflict. Is that correct?
He did.
Okay. He described it, I believe, in oral commentary and stated that he regarded the optics were horrific, described it as a what were you thinking moment.
The left and circuit described McBurney as unethical. We're going to talk about, people pontificating. Is that what we're doing here?
We're going through the fact pattern of this case. And then, as you referenced, Mr. Peter Scandalakis, as head of PAC, continued the investigation after you were disqualified. He concluded the investigation did not warrant further action after interviewing Mr. Jones 4 times and reading your entire file, among other things. Did you give your entire file?
Mr. Scandalakis has never read our entire file. When he just dismissed his case, there's no way that he read the entire file. There's no way that he reviewed all the evidence. It's no way that he interviewed witnesses. But as Counselor set up shitting and grinning in front of the media saying, oh, we know this case going to be dismissed. I bet you do.
Are you familiar with a company called Canal Media Partners?
It's my fundraiser. I think that's the name of my fundraisers. No. Canal Media Partners is who I pay to do filming or something. It's somebody I pay.
On the screen, we've got your 2024 summary from the State Ethics Commission page, and Canal Media Partners is listed as the second highest paid expenditure of your successful DA campaign.
They do great commercials. Use them.
To the tune of $527,000. It's my understanding from looking at their website that they do media buying, among other things.
That's why I won by 87%.
And there's a gentleman by the name of Mr. Chris Hutman who
is brilliant.
Does work for you. So you're familiar with Mr. Hutman?
He is brilliant.
What does Mr. Hutman do?
He buys media space. And if you're an elected official listening, you might want to hire him because he is able to go and find you the best rate so that you can get the best media. So really the best bang for their buck. Don't mean this to be a commercial, but I did win by 87%. You might want to work with him.
His LinkedIn shows present work with or employment at. It doesn't clarify either, but it shows that he's been at Canal, which we've talked about, for the last 13 years, and at a company called 2020 Insight, LLC, for the last 15 years. Are you familiar with a company called 2020 Insight?
It sounds familiar, but no. I might have paid him. I just don't remember.
According to 2020 Insight's current website, it is a partnership between, well, they don't say partnership here, but the states, under their Who Are We, it lists Mr. Jeff DeSantis and Chris Hutman, Mr. DeSantis being the same one that serves in your office, and Mr. Hutman being the gentleman that we just talked about that you referenced.
I don't know that he currently still works with him, but we could have got to that question 3 questions ago. I know at one point they worked with each other.
The website for saying that Mr. DeSantis is there is current, but it's your testimony today that you don't know whether he does work with 2020 Insight before.
I don't know that he actually continues to work with them, but I certainly know that in the past that he worked with him.
Is it your understanding that Mr. DeSantis and Mr. Hutman were business partners?
I really don't know what their professional relationship was, so I don't want to speculate. I will tell you this. The governor talked about old men having to go to the bathroom. 54-year-old women do as well, so we don't have to get me to a bathroom.
Okay, so I guess that is just the first half of the hearing. I would say my main takeaways are, number one, the Georgia Senate, and the Georgia Senate's not just doing this, because they want to do this. What should we do? Who should we prosecute next? They're getting orders directly from Donald Trump. Let's be real. That's what this is. They said it was like a legislative hearing about, prosecutions and general rules and stuff and laws in Georgia. That's all BS. This is all about Fanni Willis was trying to prosecute Donald Trump, and this is his retribution. He went straight to this guy that's leading the hearing, who's, I believe he's running for lieutenant governor, and said, "Hey, I want you to find some dirt on Fanni Willis, and we're gonna prosecute her." And the guy was probably like, "Hey, what do you want to prosecute her for?" And Trump's like, "I don't give a shit. Find something." So this hearing is A, to find a way to prosecute her for something, and B, just a way to to embarrass her and make her seem illegitimate. And it's just, Fani Willis she's spicy, man. She's ready for this. She's built for this. She's a black woman in a white man's world, and she's just trying to survive and do her best. And this hearing, the way she prepared for it, everything, my stock on Fanni Willis has gone up, and just this Senate committee of Georgia is it's so pathetic. The South of America is pathetic. It is a bunch of Donald Trump sycophants and a bunch of racist white men. That's essentially what it is, and it sucks. Like it really sucks. So that's just the first half of the hearing. I mean, we're almost an hour in just listening. That's Fanni Willis. She's spicy. We'll be seeing her more in public life moving forward. So thanks for listening, guys. I got more to come after this one. Please like, share, subscribe, so we can keep this content going. And you guys enjoy the rest of your day.